السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Inshallah, tonight I'm going to talk about Zakat Al-Fitr. Zakat Al-Fitr, the Prophet ﷺ said, طهرة للصائم من اللغو والرفث وطعمة للمساكين. So why do we give Zakat Al-Fitr? The Prophet ﷺ said the reason is طهرة للصائم من اللغو والرفث. It's cleaning, purification of the fasting from the unlawful words, from the nonsense talk that we sometimes do. So it is perfection of the siyam that it's so difficult to get complete on its own. So similar to how, for example, we have sujood al-sahu. Sujood al-sahu for the prayer, it's perfected. If we got any if we forgot anything during the prayer, then we come with sujood al-sahu, right? It pays back for whatever we forgot. The same thing for Zakat Al-Fitr. In case if any issues with our fasting, especially as far as whatever our tongue can do and affect our fasting, then Zakat Al-Fitr comes to purify it and perfect it. And وَطُعْمَةٌ لِلْمَسَاكِينَ. It's another purpose of it is to feed the masakin, the poor people who cannot find enough food to feed themselves, to feed their family, to feed their children, to have happiness and joy at the Eid time. So that's why Zakat Al-Fitr was prescribed on Muslims. ما حكمها؟ هي فرض. It's mandatory for every single person. Doesn't matter if that person is adult or child, حر or abid, if a person is slave or free man or free woman. Alhamdulillah, we don't have slaves anymore. Even some ulama, they went even to the child who's in the baby, it needs to be paid for him. And that's the opinion, the practice was of Uthman radiallahu anhu. But والراجح, wallahu a'lam, it's not mandatory for the baby who's still in the uterus, the womb of the mom. But it is mandatory for every adult, every child. As long as that family, as long as the landlord, if you will, Rabbul Usra, has more than what he needs for that day. So if the person يملك قوت يومه وعنده زيادة, he has a little bit extra at least for what is enough for himself, his wife, his dependents, the children, food-wise, then it's mandatory for that family to give the Zakat Al-Fitr away. So if your wife, you have two children, then that's 4 people. If you got 4 children with you and your wife, that's 6 children, 6 people, etc. Now, it's given to who? Al-Masakin. Al-Masakin, the definition of miskin, it differs from according to the ulama between the fuqara and the masakin, but wallahu a'lam, al-rajih, that al-faqir is poorer than the miskin. The miskin does have some source of money. The dalil is وَأَمَّا السَّفِينَةُ فَكَانَتْ لِمَسَاكِينَ يَعْمَلُونَ فِي الْبَحْرِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described those masakin people in Surah Al-Kahf that they had a ship they were working with fishing. They had some source of earning, but it was barely enough, or it wasn't enough to cover their needs. So this is the definition of miskin, a person who does work, who does have source of earning, but perhaps not enough to cover the needs of the family, or barely enough. That will be considered miskin, and they can take Zakat Al-Fitr. Now, مقدار زكاة الفطر, how much? مقدارها صاع من تمر, صاع من شعير, صاع من بر, إلى آخره. صاع meaning in kilograms is about 3 kilograms, or about close to 6 pounds. The definition from Shari'i perspective, as-sa' is arba' hafnat. So if you are trying to take rice with full hands, 2 hands, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 hafnat. This is the sa'. So, of course, my hand size will be smaller than probably others. Some people will have bigger hands, but the average, it will be about 3 kilograms of rice. Could be, that's the most popular thing, but it does not have to be rice. It could be anything from طعام أهل البلد, from what the people in that town eat. So it could be lentil, it could be chickpeas, it could be burgol, could be dates, it could be even chicken and meat. If that's the most, here very popular for people to eat chicken, it's considered طعام أهل البلد. And it could be given away to the masakin as cooked and non-cooked. Both are fine. Both could be done. Now the very common question that always asked, can we give it money rather than giving it as food? And the majority of the madhahib, the majority of the scholars, they say no, the Prophet ﷺ, his practice, his companions' practice was to give it away as food. So we should stick with that sunnah. Imam Abu Hanifa, they say it's permissible. He says that it is permissible for the Zakat Al-Fitr to be given as money. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he says it's according to the maslaha. If the maslaha taqtadi, the benefit is for the Zakat Al-Fitr to be given food, then it should be given food, and that's better. But if the maslaha, the benefit is to be given as money, then inshallah that's acceptable, it could be given as money. So there are opinions here and there. We should not make inkar or say no, this is absolutely wrong and this is absolutely right. Both inshallah have valid evidence and respectful scholars' opinions. Personally, my humble personal practice, I give it as food to the people who needs it and they will benefit of food. I don't give it to people I know that they are not gonna benefit necessarily of food. And the best thing is to take care of it yourself. To take care of it yourself. When وقتها قبيل العيد, meaning just few hours before Eid or 1 to 2 days before Eid. That's the Shari'i. The Shari'i timing is 1 to 2 days before Eid. Now, you might now ask, how come you have been asking for Zakat Al-Fitr and announcing for the Zakat Al-Fitr here in the masjid from the day 1 of Ramadan, and you want us to pay it now and it's still way early? And the answer is, when you give it to the masjid, it's not going to go to the miskin the following day or the same day. We are going to distribute it, to send it just before the Eid. But if you wait until the last day of Ramadan and then everybody gives it at that time, then it will be too late for the masjid to take that responsibility in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and give it to the needy people. Especially with the fact that most of the Zakat Al-Fitr that we collect, we send it out to the masakin overseas. In Syria, in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Kashmir, in India, because we feel the people over there will need it so much more dearly compared to the people here. Yes, there are some masakin here for sure, but the definition and the criteria for the miskin, it differs from one country to another. The miskin here in the US, mashallah, is very rich for a miskin person who is probably in a camp on the borders between Syria and Turkey, for example. So that's why we try to send the Zakat Al-Fitr, most of it, not all of it, over there. So if we wait until the last day, then we don't have time to do it. So the bottom line, we are not doing Khilaf al-Sunnah. We are not, the distribution, it's still Qubayl al-Eid. It's still very close to the time of the Eid. And most of the countries that we send to, we try to distribute as food. Don't quote me, we don't do every single thing, every single country as food distribution. Some we distribute it as money if the maslaha, if the benefit تقتضي ذلك. But in general, the distribution, whether it happened to be as food, buying with the money, food and then distributing it, or giving it as money, it's done very close to the time of Eid, according to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So that's about Zakat Al-Fitr. Now, how much in money, if you are going to give it as money, we estimated it in our masjid about $12. Now you may say, why 12? If you it's 3 kilograms or 6-7 pounds of rice is not going to be $12. Yes, you're right. But if you are going to buy 6 pounds of chicken or 6 pounds of dates, 3 kilograms of dates or burgol, the price will be different, probably higher. So we try to average out something to be on the safe side, and we estimated to be on the safe side $12 per person. So that's why we always urge you, please, kindly try to take care of it yourself. Wallahi, this is the sunnah, and you guarantee it's going to go in timely fashion in Ramadan, not after the Eid, to the person who needs it. And you don't burden, quote unquote, the masjid with that responsibility. That being said, if you really don't know any person, even though most of us immigrants, and I'm sure most of us know needy people in the country where we come from, at least, if we don't know needy people here in Albany area. So try to take care of it yourself. If you can't, then alhamdulillah, masjid is available to help you, but please help the masjid by bringing the money sooner than later, not waiting too late, because it will be too late for us to take care of it, to distribute it, to buy food with it, and distribute it to the needy people in timely manner before the end of Ramadan. And any question about this, please just come ask me after the Taraweeh. I will be happy to answer the questions. I'm not going to open the stage for questions because I don't want to get late for the people. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.